Well, I don't want to spend, I guess, we don't have to spend too much time on context. As you'll know, we're in Jeremiah. Jeremiah is one of the prophets towards the final years of the kingdom of Judah, which is, as you know, we had Israel, which was a kingdom, and eventually it split into Israel and Judah. And then by this point, Israel's been in exile, and Judah's still around, but not for much longer. And so we've been going through a lot of different stuff in Jeremiah. But I guess really just in the last few chapters, I haven't really been here as much, but if anyone would like to recap maybe.
So the main thing in the last few chapters, Jeremiah is still wrestling through the question that's been haunting him the entire time. How's God going to fix everything, right? Because the idea is that for a long time, God's been threatening punishment, and it hasn't happened yet. But now it's finally about to happen. But in the midst of all of this, God is like making a promise that like he's going to make all things right, and he's going to fix things. And Jeremiah's big question is like, how are you going to do that, right? And so that's a lingering question throughout this whole thing. But most recently, Jeremiah 29, he wrote a letter to the captives who are already living in Babylon, right? So whenever we think of the Babylonian exile, oftentimes we think of it as just like one event that took place in 586 BC. But in reality, there were 3 different deportations, right? Basically, King Nebuchadnezzar, he was the leader of Babylon at this time. He starts exercising his power over the people of Judah, and in 3 deportations, he sends them off into exile. And the final one is the 586 BC. We haven't gotten to that one yet, but we've already encountered some of the others. And so there are already some Jewish people living in captivity. And so in Jeremiah 29, Jeremiah wrote a letter to the captives, and he had a message for them. And I'm going to let Nick summarize the message of the letter.
So the letter.
If you don't want to, I can summarize it too. I was just wanting to have some fun with it.
Yeah, no. So Jeremiah basically sends this letter to the exiles, which are in Israel.
No, they're in Babylon.
Okay.
So he's in Jerusalem.
So the first set of exiles that were brought from Judah into Babylon, and he's basically telling them of both their fate and God's greater plan for the nation as a whole. And a lot of people like to read Jeremiah 29:11 especially as this message of general hope that God is always looking out for, his people and their prosperity. When in the context of the letter, it's not necessarily meant to be framed that way. It kind of comes in between, in literally the verse 4 in Jeremiah 29:10, Jeremiah says, you're going to be in captivity for 70 years. So you need to hunker down. You need to make lives for yourselves in Babylon because you're not going anywhere. So him telling him that God has plans for you, it's like distant plans.
Yeah, the whole idea of the letter is that he's writing to them, and as they've been going off in exile, they're thinking, like the whole think positive thoughts. They're like, well, God loves us. He's not going to have us in exile for long. Like, this is just very temporary. Yeah. And Jeremiah's whole letter is, no, unpack your bags, build a house, get married, have kids, marry off your kids. You're going to be here for a while. So it's a very negative letter. And he says, you're going to be in captivity for 70 years. But he says, but God has plans for y'all, and he knows those plans. And his plans are ultimately to prosper you, to give you hope in a future. But the thing is, those plans are for future generations. They're not for the current generation, right? It's, for I know the plans I have for y'all, declares the Lord, right? It's not, like the current generation, negative news. But for the future, God says, oh no, I'm going to prosper you. But there's also a caveat. He says, but you have to seek me, right? He says, so the whole purpose of the Babylonian exile is to discipline them and to bring them into a state of humility where they will actually call out to him. And he says, if you will seek me, you will find me, but you have to seek me with all your heart. And so, in general, the whole chapter is very negative. But to me, the irony behind all of this is that behind John 3:16, Jeremiah 29:11 is without a doubt the most popular verse in the Bible. And actually, at this point, it might be more popular than John 3:16. Just because of the amount of people who say it's their favorite verse. And to me, the great irony behind all of this is that I can't think of another author in Scripture who gets angrier at his audience for cherry-picking verses and only highlighting the positive ones.
Yeah,
right?
that's
Because
true.
throughout the book of Jeremiah, he's constantly saying, stop listening to people who only tell you positive things. He's like, you need to hear the negative stuff because the negative stuff is going to sober you up and make you have a right relationship with God. And Jeremiah harps on that the entire book. And then, of course, the only verse that people note from Jeremiah is a positive verse. And another irony is that when you get to the book of Lamentations, which he also wrote, the only verse people know from that book is also the only positive verse in the book, where it's about his mercies being new every morning. And so, to me, I think that it's an irony that highlights how the modern church still needs the same message that Jeremiah was teaching. Because Jeremiah was preaching to a people who only wanted to hear ear-tickling positive things. But he was sent to them to say, no, you need to hear the harsh stuff because you need to get right before God. And I would argue that the modern church needs to hear the same thing. Because all you have to do is look at what our favorite Bible verses are, right? Pull up your phone and look at the verse of the day. It's not going to be a negative verse. It's going to be, oh, God's got plans for you. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens. Like, it's always going to be positive stuff. And that's because we have that same heart issue as the people back then, where we like gravitating towards things that are nice to the ears, but might not necessarily be the truth we need to hear at the time. And so to me, that's the great irony of Jeremiah 29:11, to where the verse is beautiful if you read it in its context. And ultimately, the application is, life might suck and things might be terrible till the day you die, but even then, you can trust that God will work all things out in the end. But you also need to realize there might be a legit punishment for your sin. And that punishment might not only be a week long. It might be like your entire life.
Yeah.
Right? You think of like King David, man after God's own heart. Right? He did the one thing with Bathsheba, the rest of his life was miserable. He was forgiven for his sin, but there were consequences. So I think there's a beautiful message in Jeremiah 29, but most people miss it because they only quote the one verse that they don't understand.
Because it is still a message of hope. It's just but it's a little more sobering hope than it is simply like uplifting.
It's a hope that's centered on God and not on yourself.
Yeah.
Which is the better hope, but we don't like that one. So that was Jeremiah 29, and
now we're in 30.
Now we're in 30.
Yep. And okay, we'll just go ahead and hop on in. Let's go ahead and read. The word which came to Jeremiah from Yahweh, saying, Thus says Yahweh, the God of Israel, Write all the words which I have spoken to you in a book. For behold, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I will return the fortunes of my people Israel and Judah. Yahweh says, I will also cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. Now these are the words which Yahweh spoke concerning Israel and concerning Judah. For thus says Yahweh, We have heard a sound of trembling, of dread, and there is no peace. Ask now, and see if a male can give birth. Why do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in childbirth? And why have all faces turned pale? Alas, for that day is great, there is none like it, and it is the time of Jacob's distress, but he will be saved from it. Uh-oh.
Is it not?
Yeah.
I gotta turn it on. There's a switch on the side.
Oh, on the
Left.
side. No. Oh, nice.
Uh-oh. Maybe the battery's not working.
No, there we go. I think we got it now. No?
Here. I'll click for you.
Nice.
Boop. Oh, I see the issue. Ha, got it.
Nice.
I wasn't clicked to the right spot on the page.
Okay. Alas, for that day is great, and there is none like it. And it is the time of Jacob's distress, but he will be saved from it. And it will be in that day, declares Yahweh of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off your neck, and will tear off your bonds, and strangers will no longer make them their slaves. But they shall be a slave to Yahweh their God, and David their king, whom I will raise up for them. Fear not, O Jacob my servant, declares Yahweh, and do not be dismayed, O Israel. For behold, I will save you from afar, and your seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob will return and be quiet and at ease, and no one will make him tremble. For I am with you, declares Yahweh, to save you. For I will make a complete destruction of all the nations where I have scattered you. Only I will not make a complete destruction of you. But I will chasten you justly, and will by no means leave you unpunished. We'll stop there. Alrighty, well, what does God say there?
First off, he tells Jeremiah to write all this stuff down, which
Yeah.
tells us that it's very important.
That's true.
So,
Means writing things down is good for us because it helps us remember what we've learned. Too.
but especially back then, because back then they didn't have like endless paper and stuff like we do now. Like back then, it's like if he's telling you to write it down, like you know that this is like something you want to hold on to. And it's a very positive message.
Yeah.
Which is well, mostly, but yeah.
So 1 through 4, what does he say there? I guess 1 through 3, but not your question.
He's going to bring them back. He's going to restore the fortunes of Israel and Judah, bring them back to the land. This exile is not forever. He will restore them.
Yeah, and I think wasn't this in the earlier chapters? Wasn't there kind of a lot of back and forth about like specifically the fortunes, like the vessels and stuff in the temple? People were being like,
yes.
"Is it going to come back? It is going to come back?" And
There was a false prophet who said that he set a timetable for when God would bring the golden vessels back from exile, and God punished him for being wrong by killing him.
yeah, it was like the 2-year thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it like almost reminds me a bit of like the whole ark situation in 1 Samuel. So in 1 Samuel, like was it chapter 3 or 4, when the Israelites fought against the Philistines and they captured the ark, and the whole thing ultimately was that God was able to bring the ark back to Himself. He didn't really need the Israelites to do it. I feel like it's kind of like there's a similarity here where it's like they're all wondering about like first of all they're kind of wondering about like the wrong thing, but like ultimately God is the one who's going to bring those things back to Himself. It really isn't like something that they can do.
Well, and it's going to be according to his own timing.
Yeah, and
Not according to their timing. Like they want it to happen today. He's like, no, I'll do it, but when I want.
Yeah.
It's like just wait for me. It's like okay.
yeah.
It's like, you guys need to learn your freaking lesson first.
Yeah.
It's like, by the time you come back from Babylon, you are no longer going to worship any other gods but me.
Yeah.
You're not going to be doing it in the right way, but you're going to be doing it.
Yeah. It's also probably worth mentioning that we should keep in mind the fact that the people that God is talking to right now have not gone into exile yet.
Yeah.
Right? And so like for us, we're like, this is very hopeful. Kind of. Like, it's kind of hopeful because the only way you can come back from exile is if you go to exile first. And they know they're going to exile for 70 years, which means that they're not the ones coming back. You know, it's like their kids or their grandkids are coming back. That's just worth keeping in mind where it is hopeful, but once again, not in the same way that we like to think of hopefulness. Like we like to think of it as a very like self-serving me thing, where it's like it's not that. It's a communal thing.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, I mean, considering the next verses, I mean, obviously the people weren't like completely, totally.
They weren't jazzed.
Like, woo! I guess we're good then.
Yeah.
So I guess speaking of, what is the next few verses? What does God say there? Kind of makes a joke.
Ask now and see if a male can give birth. Why do I see every man with his hand on his loins? It's a woman in childbirth. He's like,
I don't know what that means,
Like,
but it sounds crazy.
the idea is that they're in pain, and
Oh, okay.
I mean, in my like, is it like a joke about them being like kicked between the legs?
Yeah.
Like that's what it is,
I
right?
didn't know if it was that or if it was almost like them fearing like peeing themselves, like
Oh, it could be that too. Like either one, because
it doesn't say that they're in pain. It's just, I mean, it could be that. But,
Yeah.
like the whole idea
Well,
is
it
like
just
anxiety.
says,
It's like
with his hands
stress.
on his loin as a woman in childbirth, that could either mean pain or
yeah,
Just because, it talks about like their faces turning pale and like Jacob's distress. That's how I read it. It was like it was basically being like they're pansies.
yeah. Well, and a woman in childbirth, it could be the idea of like the water breaking. Like if you're like, so it could be either way. It's like, but the idea is
But,
he's
they're
like,
oh,
why y'all act like a bunch of women? Like,
Yeah.
like be a man and fight, or well, they're not supposed to fight. They're supposed to surrender, but
Be a man and surrender.
Yeah, the idea is that they're terrified.
Be a man and be willing to die.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if anything, there's like a discrepancy between the first verses and God's saying like, therefore, why are y'all like this? Because
Yeah, he's like, guys, I'm gonna restore y'all, but they're like, that's like several generations from now. He's like, yeah, but I'm gonna do it. Like,
You gotta trust
the
me.
only way that your grandkids are going to reap the promises is if you have grandkids, and the only way you're gonna have grandkids is if I let you survive this and take you off to Babylon. So, chill. You ain't gonna die. Unless you fight. If you fight, you're gonna die, and then you won't have grandkids. It's like, so it's just like, just surrender, and yeah. But they're terrified, and it makes sense because once again, Nebuchadnezzar's just history records that Nebuchadnezzar was a formidable foe. Like, bro was wild.
Yeah, I mean, even if they submit and go into exile, it isn't like everyone's going to be unharmed.
Oh no.
There will still be people dying, and there will still be people being punished.
That's what he says at the end of this section is like, I'm not going to leave you unchastened. You know, you're going to be punished justly, but like, for the rest of y'all, you know.
Well, they could be like, well, I thought that punishment was just going over to Babylon.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's not.
No.
Just that.
Well, it's like the idea. He's like, you just need to like toughen up and get over it. Like, there's no getting away from the discipline. It's like if a kid knows he's gonna get spanked and he's like running away from his parents. It's like, if you run away from me, you're just gonna make the discipline worse. Just suck it up and take the spanking. Right? Like that's if you wanted to get over with, just take it like a man.
Just do it.
Whereas if you just if you pee yourself and run away, you're just gonna make me annoyed. I'm gonna spank you more.
It's like you wouldn't hit like a crying person. Nope, I'll still do it.
That sounds mean though.
But anyways,
they deserve what they're getting.
Yeah,
Is there a person
exactly.
in glasses?
Right.
Takes the glasses off.
But yeah, so just again, it's same stuff we've been talking about, but the day is coming when more people are going to be brought into exile, and they are obviously afraid, but God's trying to reassure them that things are going to be fine eventually. Maybe not for them, but and then these next two verses we just read here, what does God say there? He just kind of continues on what he's been saying. So
Is this the part where it talks about David, their king?
Almost.
Cool.
So we said that we just talked about the time of Jacob's distress, but then verse 7 ended by saying, "But he will be saved from it." And then what does he say after that? So he's clarifying on
the
they'll be
day
saved.
declares Yahweh of hosts that I will break his yoke from your neck and tear off your bonds. So he's basically saying that I'll free you from Babylonian captivity, through my power.
Mm-hmm.
So, more specifically through Darius, but
Yeah, or like Cyrus, whoever, yeah.
Cyrus.
Eventually.
Darius.
But I guess the imagery is that of transferring kingdoms basically again, and then going from allegiance, or not necessarily allegiance, more servitude, but from one king to another.
Yep. And in this sense, the king that they're going to be serving in the future is the king that they should have always served, which is God.
I think another thing worth highlighting, just because there's a parallel here, the fact that he keeps calling it Jacob's distress, and he says, "Fear not, Jacob, my servant." This should bring back to mind the fact that Jacob, the patriarch in Genesis, he also went through an exile, right? To where Jacob, if you go back to Genesis, he was a super conniving, twisty person who deceived people left and right.
Yeah.
And as a result of his actions, he literally had to leave the land of Israel, and he had to go north to the land near where Babylon, he had to go north to where his Uncle Laban lived.
Yeah.
And he was in exile for a long time. And then he eventually came back to the land, and he prospered in the land.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I think it makes sense. It's this is the time of Jacob's distress. The idea is that Israel is following in the footsteps of their forefather Jacob. Right? Jacob went into exile and he came back better off. He says, you're going to go into exile, you're going to come off better off. But did Jacob have a good time when he was in exile? No. But his story ended in a positive way. And so I think the idea is the same thing. But keep in mind, even whenever Jacob returned from exile, he was still wrestling with God.
Yeah, that's when he wrestled, yeah.
Yeah, and so with Israel, it's kind of the same idea. It's they're going to come off better, but things might not be totally fixed yet. But in the end, it will work out. Right? So, "Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, declares Yahweh. Do not be dismayed, O Israel. I will save you from afar." He's going to do for them what he did to Jacob. He's going to bring them back. So.
Yeah. And verse 11, for I am with you to save you. And this was something this was a phrase that was repeated all throughout, especially Isaiah, just the whole like God with us. I don't remember how much specifically that phrase has popped up in Jeremiah. But again, just remembering that throughout all of this, I mean, this is all stuff that God has orchestrated, and so even when it doesn't seem like it, I mean, God is still with them. But like also he said, it's not going to be necessarily in their lifetime.
Yeah. Well, and he says he's going to make a complete destruction of the nations, but not of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what they've got coming is bad, but what the nations have coming is worse.
That's
So,
true.
Like he's at least going to save them and restore them, whereas the nations don't have that same hope. Like Babylon's going to fall, and it's going to fall for good. The Syrians are going to fall for good.
Yeah.
So,
I guess
at this point they already have, but
yeah, I guess that was the same message in Isaiah as well. Was the message just kind of y'all are going to be in exile for a bit, but the nations that ultimately God, like Yahweh, will avenge his people, and so the people that have been like, God uses them to discipline his people, but he doesn't condone their actions.
Yeah.
And so even through what they're doing, even though it does accomplish God's plan, he is still going to punish them, and they're going to get far much worse.
yeah.
That's true.
But now I want you to notice verse 12. For thus says Yahweh, your injury is incurable, and your wound is desperately sick. It's it's that same issue as before, right? Is there any balm in Gilead?
Yep.
But this language also brings up another thing in Jeremiah, because I think that this is where we get to see that God's pinpointing what the issue is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because Jeremiah, the whole book, he's been wrestling through. There's some sort of disease in man that keeps him from obeying God. There's an issue, right? And now God says, I agree with you. Your injury that you have is incurable and it's desperately sick. But where else in Jeremiah have we heard about something that's desperately sick?
The heart.
The heart, right? The heart is deceitful above all things. It's desperately sick, right? And so that same language, this is God diagnosing what the problem is, right? The thing that is leading man astray is their heart. And so, if it's incurable, what do they need?
A new heart.
They need a new heart, right? And that's going to pave the way for where Jeremiah's heading with this, right? Like to where God's heading with it. Because Jeremiah's whole question has been, how is this going to be solved? And God says, you're right, it's incurable. But I'm going to cure it. Well, how do you do that? You have to have a transplant, right? Like that's the only solution, right? It's like if you have failing kidneys and you need a kidney, well, if the kidney's incurable, you got to have a kidney transplant, right? You need a new kidney. And so God's saying, you're right. Your heart is desperately sick, and there's no way I can cure it. But what I can do is I'm going to give you a new heart. And so that's where he's paving the way for the stuff that's going to come in the next few chapters. But we're beginning to see a glimpse of the answer that God is going to give, which I think is cool. That's where it's cool if you just pay attention to the language of the book.
Mm.
You're beginning to put the pieces together to where you're like, oh, I see. And I don't know. I find that neat.
Yeah, well, because even though the exile is for discipline, and in a sense, then coming back from the exile will be kind of like a clean slate. If nothing changes, it will quickly revert back to the same stuff. Yeah. And so, hence, they need a clean slate to start from, but there still has to be that change at the same time.
The exile is kind of going to be like the flood, right? So if you go back to Genesis, people got so sinful that God sent a flood to wipe things out. And he gave humanity a fresh start. But even once, after Noah and stuff, they got a fresh start, but you could still tell something was wrong, right? It's things didn't get better, it just was a fresh start. Mm-hmm. And the same is going to happen after the exile, to where it's they're going to learn part of their lesson, they're going to get rid of idolatry, but there's still going to be other problems they have, right? Even though they get rid of idolatry and they're going to devote themselves to the one true God, they're still going to sin, and they're still going to be doing the wrong things. And so it turns out that it isn't simply following other gods that makes you do wrong things, it's literally the heart itself. And so again, Jeremiah, that's what Jeremiah is pointing out. It's it's a deeper issue. It's not just the God you're serving. You have to serve the right God the right way. And if your heart is currently as it is, it won't be able to do it. And so I don't know. I think it's cool. He's if you're paying close attention, it's like a good mystery where like you're beginning to put the pieces of the puzzle together right before he just explicitly says it. So it's
Yeah.
like you're like, okay, I see where he's heading, and that's
And
kind of cool.
even with the flood story, the thing that really set it off was the same thing. It was the whole of the heart. Like the every intention of the heart was set on evil.
Every
Same
intention
thing.
of the thoughts of the heart was only evil continually.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's that's kind of cool actually. I didn't think about the flood, but literally the same premise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on. For thus says Yahweh, your injury is incurable, and your wound is desperately sick. There is no one to plead your cause, no healing for your sore, no recovery for you. All your lovers have forgotten you. They do not seek you, for I have wounded you with the wound of an enemy, with the punishment of a cruel one, because your iniquity is numerous and your sins are mighty. Why do you cry out over your injury? Your pain is incurable, because your iniquity is numerous and your sins are mighty. I have done these things to you. Therefore all who devour you will be devoured, and all your adversaries, every one of them, will go into captivity. And those who take you as spoil will be spoiled, and all those who plunder you I will give as plunder. For I will restore you to health, and I will heal you of your wounds, declares Yahweh, because they have called you a banished one, saying, it is Zion, no one is seeking her. We'll stop there. Okay, we already kind of talked about this a second ago, but what does he say here? Kind of builds on the whole sickness.
It's incurable and beyond healing.
Mm-hmm. So I guess why is the sickness incurable? He repeats it twice.
Verse what?
It's because of their iniquity.
Yeah, in verse 14 and 15, it's like the same phrase is repeated.
Because of their sins.
Sin.
Your sins are mighty.
And then he says that all your lovers have forgotten you and they do not seek you. So the idea is like they are diseased and wasting away, yet all the people they cheated on him with aren't coming to save them. Right? It's like, or like the idea is like they're a stage 4 cancer patient and they're in the hospital, yet all the people they cheated on him with aren't coming for a visit. You know, and he's like, where are they? Where are your lovers? Like all the gods you chase after who said they could save you, why aren't they helping you? And y'all know what chapter this brings to mind?
I think it's in.
Deuteronomy. Oh.
I thought it was something else that you were talking about. But.
Deuteronomy 32. Bingo. Come on, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all should have all said that together. Y'all know this answer.
Yep.
So Deuteronomy 32. God says that basically he's going to punish Judah, right? Or he's going to punish Israel whenever they rebel. And then he's going to say, where are their gods, the rock in which they sought refuge? Who ate the fat of their sacrifices and drank the wine of their drink offering? Let them rise up and help you. Let them be your hiding place. See now that I am he. There is no God besides me. It is I who put to death and give life. I have wounded, and it is I who heal. And there is no one who can deliver from my hand. So God says, hey, where are the gods who are going to save you? Why haven't they saved you? Oh, that's right, because I'm the one in charge. He says, I'm the one who wounds you, and I'm the one who will heal you. And that's exactly what he's saying in Jeremiah.
Yeah.
He's saying, your wound is insufferable. It can't be cured. Like, it can't be cured. But ironically, he says he's going to cure it, which is, we'll have to talk about that.
Yeah.
But he says, your wound is incurable, and I'm the one who is inflicted upon you. But I'm also the one who's going to heal you. And, like, so it's literally the same thing that Moses said he would say. He's literally, where are your lovers? Where are the other gods? Why aren't they helping you out? It's because I am he. I'm the only one who can solve the problem. So.
Yeah. Let's see.
So, let me, just one other thing to highlight.
Mm.
So, like I said, the whole question Jeremiah's been asking is, how is the problem going to be solved? And it seems like God's answer behind all of this is, there's only one person who can solve it, and it's me. Right? Like, so God is saying, the whole point is that, humanity cannot solve the problem. Right? And so he's saying, your gods can't solve the problem, you can't solve the problem, only I can do it. And that's why I think it's cool that you see like this like progression through the prophets, because by the time you get to Ezekiel, Ezekiel's going to have a vision where he's going to see like a valley of like dry bones, right? And he's going to like, or like God's going to ask him and say, "Tell me, son of man, can these dry bones come to life?" And Ezekiel just says, "Oh Lord, only you know." Right? To where it's like, Ezekiel admits, you're the only one who knows how to solve this problem. And it seems like that's the conclusion that Jeremiah is forcing, or that God is forcing Jeremiah to. Right? Jeremiah is like, there's an issue in our heart. I don't know what to do with it. Like, where is there possibly a solution? And God says, it's in me. I'm the solution. And he's about to break down exactly how that works. But I just wanted to highlight the progression that you see throughout the prophets. But
Yeah, that's true. Verses 16 and 17, really quickly, or I guess in verse 16, what does he say there?
All those who have afflicted you will be afflicted. So he's talking more specifically about like Babylon, Assyria, Egypt, to some extent, that the nations that have inflicted punishment on, Judah for their sins, they will be punished for that as well in the future, which is something that he's brought up again and again throughout the book.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Basically, it's just kind of furthering what he's saying about really all of this. This whole thing is that they're still kind of worried about trying to save themselves or get someone to save them.
Yeah.
Both, like from their present state, and God's basically saying that like their affliction is incurable because he's done it to them, but he's just saying they need to wait on him to do things his way. But the thing is that not only will he cure them, but it's going to be like it's going to be like a full, like he's going to go all the way with it. So it's not just going to be that he's going to get them out of their situation, but he's actually going to properly vindicate his people by not just taking them out of exile, but everyone who's wronged them, he is going to avenge them to a degree they never could, or that no other nation ever could. Again, it's just kind of just like going back to the whole, they need to trust in him, in his timing, and let him do justice for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's kind of all of it. Like part of all of this is just saying, trust in me. No one else can get you out of this, but not only will I get you out of this, but I will also avenge you on your enemies fully.
I'll do far more exceedingly than you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
Amen.
Exactly.
In verse 17, though, in particular, I love like that whole verse just because literally a few verses ago he said it's incurable, and he says, "All right, I'm going to restore you to health." It's like imagine going to the doctors and they're like, "Well, you have stage 4 cancer, and it's incurable," and you're like, "Oh," and they're like, "All right, so you want to get it fixed?" You'd be like, "What? You literally just told me it couldn't be cured," and they're like, "Oh no, yeah, it can't be, but I can." It's like, well, why did you say that? It's like, but the whole point is like he wanted to force them to that state of desperation, so that they could understand the delight found in like his salvation, right? Because like if you're just like, "Oh, by the way, I can save you," you're not gonna feel the need for the salvation. Whereas if you say, "Yeah, you've got a fatal diagnosis and there's no way to cure it," that makes you realize there's nothing I can do. I can't save myself. Oh, and it makes you panic. And he says, "There's nothing you can do to cure it, but I can. And not only can I, I'm going to." And like that's cool. It's like ooh, like that's just like I don't know. It's a flex. You be chill.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just love it because it was literally just a few verses ago. He's like, "Sorry guys, it's incurable, but I'm gonna restore you."
Yeah, 2 verses earlier.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, we can go and move on. Thus says Yahweh, "Behold, I will return the fortunes of the tents of Jacob, and have compassion on his dwelling places. And the city will be rebuilt on its ruin, and to the palace will sit on its just place. From them will come forth thanksgiving, and the voice of those who celebrate. And I will multiply them, and they will not decrease. I will also honor them, and they will not be insignificant. Their children also will be as formerly, and their congregation shall be established before me. And I will punish all their oppressors. And their mighty one shall be one of them, and their ruler shall come forth from their midst. And I will bring him near, and he shall approach me. For who would dare to give his heart as security to approach me, declares Yahweh. You shall be my people, and I will be your God. Let's stop. I'll read through. Behold, the storm of Yahweh. Wrath has gone forth, a sweeping storm. It will burst on the head of the wicked. The burning anger of Yahweh will not turn back until he has done and until he has established the intent of his heart. In the last days you will understand this. Okay. That's through the end of the chapter. Yeah, so what does God say there?
He's telling the future as it pertains to the people of Judah returning to, the land.
So
Talking about the generation that is going to return, and as we see in the Bible, what he speaks is true. The city does quite literally get rebuilt on the ruins of Jerusalem.
Right.
And the palace gets rebuilt where the palace formerly stood by the people that return into the land.
Yeah.
All of the, vessels that were taken from the temple are returned. And they do start to live their lives more focused on God,
Mm-hmm.
They don't, they don't exactly, I'm trying to find the word for it. They don't explicitly worship other gods in the land anymore once they return.
Yeah.
And so, in that way, they are more focused on God. But it's the lines about the kings and the rulers to come from their midst that at first can be a little confusing, because you're like, well, there's not actually a king who rules over Jerusalem that comes from the Jewish people back when they return from the land. So it's like, oh, what's that talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's because it's setting up a big plot twist when they do return. Because the whole point is that they're expecting that once the 70 years are over, the exile's over. But that's not the same thing. He just said, after 70 years, I'm going to bring you back to your homeland.
Yeah.
But the exile doesn't end there. And that's why when we get to the books of Ezra and Nehemiah, we're going to see that those books, they start off with, both of them kind of start off with this triumphant thing, and then they just simmer out. And it's because they're returning back to the land, and they're like, yes, finally God's restoring us, and then it doesn't happen. It's like they rebuild the walls, they rebuild the temple, but the kingdom isn't established as before, and they realize, oh, we're still not restored. And so that's why literally you fast forward 400 years, and by the time you get to Christ, the Jewish people realize we're living in the land, but we're still in exile. And so it's they realize we're still waiting for the ultimate restoration, and that's ultimately what Jesus is going to come and do and stuff. So that's the whole plot twist. They're thinking, oh yeah, in 70 years we'll be back to normal. No, in 70 years you're coming back home, but it's going to be a little bit longer before this full restoration takes place. I would actually argue that some of the elements that Jeremiah's talking about here still haven't happened.
Yeah.
I would say that it's that some of this is end times that's the whole confusing thing about prophecy, is that there's partial fulfillments, short-term fulfillments, long-term fulfillment. There's elements of it that are being fulfilled, but a lot of it won't be ultimately fulfilled till the very end.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I didn't look at the Hebrew specifically. Not that it's not important, but it says, in the last days you will understand this.
I'm assuming it's probably the same word that you see in Genesis and stuff like that, where it's what verse is it?
That's still the very last 24. It's
Okay.
literally the last sentence.
Okay, the last days you will understand this. Let me see.
Yeah, because then it starts talking about the wrath of Yahweh. So it talks about someone approaching God from their midst, and then it says the storm of Yahweh, his wrath has gone forth, which, you know, it just says it's going to burst on the wicked, and basically it will not turn back until he has accomplished the intent of his heart.
Yeah. Well, and it is the same word. It's the same phrase. The phrase in Hebrew is the acharit hayamin. So the last days. It's the same thing you see in Genesis, where Jacob is prophesying and he says, "I will tell you your last days," which this ties in because he began in verse 18 saying, "I will return the fortunes of the tents of Jacob." And if you go back to Genesis, Jacob is saying that prophecy over the tribes of the tents of Jacob, right? And he's promising their fortunes that will fade. So Jacob is talking about the end times. He says this is what's going to happen to the 12 tribes in the end. And now Jeremiah says, in the end, God will restore the fortunes.
Yeah.
But that's not, and keep in mind, that's not just to Judah. Like he's been saying several times throughout this chapter, it's Israel and Judah, right? And Judah is going to come back from Babylon 70 years later, but Israel is never mentioned coming back.
Yeah,
So
I guess that is one thing about saying Jacob instead of saying Israel is that at this point that's probably
it's an easier way to refer to both of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so basically, part of this is, at least the way I'm reading it, it kind of sounds like part of it is that they will come back, and in some ways, a lot of it will be like how things used to be. Like, they'll have certain things back how they used to be, and they'll like re-multiply. Some of the language here brings back like the Abrahamic covenant with like that will multiply them. But there was something else. But at the same time, even though it'll be things, in some ways things will be as it was before, they'll realize that it hasn't been fully fixed yet, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And so they'll be restored, but there will still be the need for further change.
Yeah. In verse 21, I would argue, is probably pretty clearly talking about the Messiah, where it says, "And their mighty one shall be one of them, and their ruler shall come forth from their midst. And I will bring him near, and he shall approach me. For who would dare to give his heart as security to approach me?" Right? So, like, the idea is that when he restores them, like, in that day, the Messiah will come forth, right? And he will be one. Like, and this, again, is interesting, because there's been several hints that the Messiah would be more than just a man, but it's never been explicitly said. But right here it says the Messiah will come forth from one of them, right? He shall be one of them, and he shall come from their midst, which also calls back to Genesis as well, when it says, like, a scepter shall arise from Judah, or the scepter shall not depart from Judah, right? Until the Holy One arrives from their midst. So it's the same language, and it says, "I will bring him near, and he will approach me." So the idea is that the Messiah will come near to God and walk into his presence, which is interesting because he immediately follows that up by saying, "And tell me, which one of you would be willing to approach me given your heart?" Because, like, throughout the whole book, we've been saying the heart's desperately wicked. But he says there's going to be something about this guy where his heart is not like yours, right? He's built different, right? To where he will be able to approach me unlike you. Which is just an interesting
it's like a rhetorical question.
Yeah. Who of y'all would come before me? And we'd be like, well,
good
none
question.
of us.
None of us. So more than just a man.
Yeah, but then because of that, you shall be my people and I will be your God. So in some way, the Messiah coming from their midst and standing before God will be the thing that paves the way for these people to become his people again. It's like, oh, but wait, I thought we said we needed a new heart. Well, it turns out that this guy has a good heart. Like, you see how, like, it's all beginning to flow, like, to where you're beginning to put the pieces together.
Yeah, and to me, because this is also a phrase that's been repeated just in this book alone, but also throughout, whenever I read the phrase, "You shall be my people and I will be your God," to me it immediately brings to mind covenant, a covenant.
Well, like, you go back to Exodus and stuff like that.
Yeah, and of course in Jeremiah, whenever he's quoting it, he's referring back to those moments where, like, he's saying, before I even gave you the law, my covenant to you was, I am your God, you're my people.
Yeah.
And so to me, like, also just being right here, it's like Messiah appears, and then the immediately thing after is covenants.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of building towards like, so is there going to be a new covenant or?
Well, and then the tricky thing is that in between those two things, we learned that the Messiah has a heart unlike ours, and we know from the rest of the book that what we need is a new heart. You know, so it's like
True.
when you add all these things together, you're beginning to realize, you're beginning to think, I think I see how God's going to do this. Like somehow the Messiah is going to be the one who gives us a new heart, so that we can be right before God, and so that we can enter into His presence as well, right? So it's like when you're like, if you're reading between the lines and putting it all together, it's beginning to iron itself out, and that's going to become more explicit in the next chapter.
Yeah.
So.
And then I assume verse 23 and 24 is talking about like the final, like some kind of like final judgment or like end times type stuff.
Well, and I think in general, it's like this is this is the relief after it's all over.
Mm.
And so I think there's the temporary relief in the sense of we're back from Babylon, but then there's going to be the crud, God isn't with us, you know. So, but I think there's like the end times relief in the sense of in the end, when the Messiah is on the throne and all things are made new and all people like who believed in Him are right before God, at last they'll be able to say, the storm of Yahweh has passed, right? So I think that's where it's like you have this all being spread out over the course of thousands of years.
Yeah, because it talks about like the sweeping storm on the head of the wicked and whatnot. Trying to think.
Then, verse 24, the burning anger of Yahweh will not turn back until He has done and until He has established the intent of His heart.
Yeah.
It's like, so it capitalizes the H here, but the question becomes, whose heart are we talking about? Are we talking about God's heart or the Messiah's heart? Because you were just talking about the Messiah's heart in the previous verses, but now it makes it sound like it's talking about Yahweh, but it could go either way. You know, so once again, it's the ambiguity.
To say that, or it could be both. Like, I mean,
I think it is both, but
yeah. Well, yeah, because also there is like the theology of like the wrath of God being on Jesus, like on the cross.
Yeah.
And so it's like literally the burning anger of Yahweh is not turning back; it is literally going on to Jesus until it is finished.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I love that it just says, "In the last days you'll understand this." Like the idea is that He's like, you probably don't understand what I'm saying now, but trust me, by the time we get to the end, you will understand. And like, I would say as Christians, we're reaping the benefits of that, right? Because like, if we were Jewish people hearing this at the time, we'd be like, none of us would be like, oh, so you're saying that you're going to come in the flesh and lay down your life for us. Like, none of us would say that.
Yeah.
But nowadays we're like, like it's like, because we know the story of Jesus, we can look back and be like, oh, I see what you were saying. You know, it's like, okay.
They probably think like, oh, there's going to be a king and like God's backing him up or something.
Yeah. Whereas like, he's like, no, literally.
He like represents God or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, to me, it's just, it's really cool. You're like, he's like, believe me, if you think you understand, you don't. But one day you will. In the last days.
Yeah.
Once again, not the current generation.
Yeah, so I guess for us, like, we'd be like in the last days.
Yes. Well, yeah. So for the New Testament, like church, I mean, nowadays you always hear like preachers being like, "Are we in the last times or the last days?" Well, yes. But from a biblical perspective, we've been in the last days for 2,000 years. Because basically, from the moment that Jesus resurrected, the last days began. Mm-hmm. The next thing on the prophetic timetable is His return. So like we're in the last days. We just don't know when it's going to end. And so, in the last days, we do understand it, which is cool. So, kind of fun.
Yeah, and again, also like the message to the people, the audience is like, you don't have to understand right now. It's fine. Just submit.
Just trust me.
Just trust. Yeah. Alrighty. Anything else to say about that chapter before we move on? Cool. Move on. At that time, declares Yahweh, I will be the God of all the families of Israel, and they shall be my people. Thus says Yahweh, the people who survived the sword found grace in the wilderness, Israel, when it went to find its relief. Yahweh appeared to him from afar, saying, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore I have drawn you with Hesed. Again I will build you, and you will be rebuilt, O Virgin of Israel. Again you will take up your tambourines and go forth to the dances of those celebrating. Again you will plant vineyards on the hills of Samaria. The planters will plant and will enjoy them. For there will be a day when watchmen on the hills of Ephraim call out, Arise, and let us go up to Zion, to Yahweh our God. For thus says Yahweh, Sing aloud with gladness for Jacob. and shout among the head of the nations. Make it heard, give praise and say, O Yahweh, save your people, the remnant of Israel. Stop there. So what does God say here? At that time.
He says that in the end, the exile will be good for them. Like the people who survive the sword will find grace in the wilderness. So the idea is that those who aren't killed by the Babylonians and who survive to go into exile, they'll be better off because of it. And to me, this is very similar to the book of Hosea. Whenever just the opening chapter, where God says that He's going to scatter them. The Hebrew word is Jezreel, like it's a reference to the Jezreel Valley. But the idea is He's going to scatter them, and He says, "But one day they will look back and they will say, 'Great is the day of Jezreel.'" Like, it's for them, it's the worst moment of their life. But one day they'll be able to look back and say, "I'm so glad that happened," because that was the thing that like forced me to like, it was my come to Jesus moment, basically.
Yeah.
It's kind of like whenever people share their stories of like how they came to Christ, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I was at like the bottom," and like in the moment you don't like being at the bottom. But afterwards, you're like, I'm so glad I got to that bottom place because, like, it forced me to look up. And it seems like God's saying that's what's going to happen. Like, you're not going to like the exile. It's going to be miserable for you. But if you're out there, you'll be able to find you'll find me. And it seems like in general that's how it works for us too, right? To where usually it's like those who survive the sword find grace in the wilderness. Like the ones who if we escape the consequences of our sins and we just endure like the hardship that comes from the sin itself, a lot of times we'll turn more likely to Christ or something like that. But
I think that's one of the reasons why people don't come to Christ, because they feel like they've done so much bad that God wouldn't forgive them.
maybe.
That's that's what that's what I've heard. I just don't know if it's.
Yeah. That's fair. So just like again, the idea of eventually things will get better, and it won't just be like, again, it'll be actually a day where people are celebrating and actually having a good time. So it's definitely a very positive picture.
And notice that it's not just the area of Judah, right? Like he's specifically highlighting it's Israel and Judah together.
Yeah, I mentioned Samaria too, and Ephraim.
Yeah.
That's true. So,
which is cool, just because.
I guess.
Or sorry, what?
No, you're good. I was gonna say I forgot that. Very beginning it says, "I will be the God of all the families of Israel."
Yeah, and so to me that's just cool because at this point they've been split for hundreds of years, right? Like it's like they've been split for hundreds of years, and at this point, the Northern Kingdom has been gone for hundreds of years, right? To where it's like they split 400 years ago, the Northern Kingdom fell 150 years ago. Like, to them, it's like, Israel's gone. But he says, no, they're not. He says, I'm going to bring them back. Like, one day, Judah and Israel will be reunited. And people down in Jerusalem are going to be celebrating just as much as the people in Samaria. And it's like, that to me, it's like, that almost like gives me chills. It's like, ooh.
Right.
Like, there's got to be such a cool promise for them to hear. But
yeah, like when I hear when I hear like all the families of Israel, I just start thinking of like all the tribes and stuff. I don't know if anyone else reads it that way, but yeah, something we've read. But yeah, just the whole he is going to gather Israel and Judah together. Yeah. Anything else I want to comment on these verses here?
I think one thing, just this is just again highlighting the prosperity they're going to experience. It says the planters will plant and will enjoy them. Right. The idea is there's really a twofold thing here. On one hand, it doesn't sound like slavery. Like it's like the people working the field are the ones enjoying it, right? So it's like it's not like forced labor of like it's like no, this is no slavery. It's just the people working the fields, like doing work, are the ones enjoying the work. But then also the idea it's like immediate process. It's not like I'm gonna plant a vineyard so that my grandkids can enjoy it. It's like no, you who plant it. Like so, I don't know. It's like it just highlights again abundant prosperity. There's no slavery. It's just immediate gratification almost, but like in a healthy way, to where it's like it's an earned immediate gratification.
Yeah, well, especially considering the time of this, like this is referring to like after the exile, which I don't remember. I think the language just popped up earlier too, but the whole idea of like no longer like or I guess when they're in exile, it's like you will build a house for someone else, or you will make food for someone else, and you will do all these things, and someone else enjoys your work.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely like a very positive message that it's a little hard for us to understand because we don't really have to deal with that. But for them, it's like it's a pretty big deal that they would put in that work and actually get to enjoy it themselves. That's true. And that's also good. Like I think, later on we'll actually talk a little bit more about like fields, in a way. But
Or I guess if you wanted to think of like a modern parallel, it's like think about like how life would be if there were no taxes. You know, it's like towards like nowadays, like you can make all this money, but half of your money is going away to other people, right? It's like towards like there's other people who are or like you go work at a corporation and you get like a minimum wage job, and then like a lot of the money that you probably earned is going to like the billionaires who are in charge of the corporation.
Yeah.
Whereas like the idea is like, no, what if like imagine a world where you are actually receiving like just what you worked for, like so like it's just like it's a relieving thought, you're just like wow, like that's not how like any culture has ever worked, and so it's just very like comforting.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, we can probably go ahead and move on. Verse 8. Behold, I am bringing them from the north country, and I will gather them from the remote parts of the earth, among them the blind and the lame, the woman with child and she who is in labor with child, together. A great assembly, they will return here. With weeping they will come, and by supplication I will lead them. I will make them walk by streams of waters, on a straight path in which they will not stumble. For I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. Actually, we'll stop there real quick. So what does he say there? There's some cool language going on there.
I don't know who this guy is.
Is it Ephraim?
Yeah.
Ephraim is one of the tribes. So Ephraim.
So Ephraim was the biggest tribe of the northern kingdom, and so sometimes the word Ephraim could be used as like a synonym for just Israel itself. So it's like
that's right.
So the language sounds very much like a second Exodus, like the idea of like just how God came down to them in Egypt and brought them out. The idea is He's going to bring them back from the north, but it's talking about the northern kingdom in general, right? Right.
I'm bringing them from the north country.
Israel, ain't it?
Yeah, I mean, I figured this seems more like Israel specifically being scattered. I guess it could be both, like north country, Judah, and then like the remote parts, Israel. But.
Yeah, because it specifically said, "Sing aloud with gladness for Jacob, and shout among the heads of the nations. Make it heard, give praise, and say, O Yahweh, save your people, the remnant of Israel." So it could be the remnant of the northern kingdom or the remnant of both. But the idea is that they're going to come back, and it actually calls back to like Isaiah. Whenever Isaiah said, like, a voice crying in the wilderness, prepare the way for the Lord, like, make the path straight, let every valley be raised up, let every mountain be lowered, like leveled. And it says, those who place their hope in the Lord will renew their strength, they will fly on wings like eagles, they will run and not grow weary, they will walk and not be faint. Like, the idea is that God's like, whenever I bring you back, it's going to be quick. Like, it's like, I'm going to bring you back and it's going to be boom. Like, it's not going to be like a zigzagging course, it's not going to be a difficult course, I'm just going to bring you straight back to me. Which just sounds, again, comforting. My question is, it says, verse 9, with weeping they will come, and by supplication I will lead them. Are they weeping in joy, or are they weeping in sadness? Like, are they, like, is he bringing them back home because, like, or let me ask this, are they weeping because they're returning, aka weeping in joy, or is it because of their weeping in repentance that he brings them back?
Maybe because of repentance is what I'm guessing. Because they were just judged.
I guess it could be both. The supplication makes me would lead me more towards the second.
The repentance,
but
that's what I think, because it's like the thing they've been asking for.
Yeah.
Mine says with pleas for mercy.
Okay.
So that might help clarify.
Yeah. Also, does verse 9 remind you all of any particular passage? I'm assuming you're thinking of it, right?
Maybe. I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know if we're thinking the same thing, but
Pretty famous passage.
makes me think of a passage. Yeah.
Is it very famous?
Yeah.
Is it okay? I think we're thinking the same thing.
Probably, yeah.
Wait, what
Um,
passage are you- what part are you talking about?
Psalm 23.
Psalm 23. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I thought of that in Psalm 27
Yeah.
because it talks about walking the straight path.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So Psalm 23.
Wide streams, you know.
The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. It's a lot of the same language, right?
Yeah.
Like by supplication, I will lead them. I will make them walk by streams of waters, on a straight path in which they will not stumble. So the idea, the imagery is of God as a shepherd, right? And He is
Yeah.
shepherding His people and bringing them back home, right? Like so, basically, the people are sheep that have gone astray, and they have wandered off into Babylon in their stupidity.
Mhm.
But He's going to come back to them, and He's going to be like, okay, let's go back home, and He's guiding the lost sheep back home. Which is going to be pretty crazy whenever Jesus shows up and says, I'm the good shepherd. And people are like, I thought God was the good shepherd. He's like, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Right. That's what. Yeah. That's what it made me think of. I mean, just thinking like the shepherd and the father imagery both.
Yeah.
I think as far as like the Ephraim is my firstborn. I mean, I guess it's just the idea of like they're precious to him.
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting because I'm trying to think with Joseph, like in the book of Genesis, there was a whole issue with Manasseh and Ephraim, and I believe Manasseh was the firstborn, right? And Ephraim, because the whole thing is that Ephraim was blessed over Manasseh, but Ephraim was the secondborn, and so I think that that's probably an intentional like callback, because anybody who knows the history of Israel knows that Ephraim is not the firstborn. Right? No, Ephraim was the secondborn. But even the tribe of Ephraim was blessed as the firstborn.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like
Jacob too.
What's that?
Like Jacob too.
Yeah, kind of like Jacob. But I think it's like that's an intentional thing where it's like him saying that language it's like, yeah, like I'm a God who does things differently, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows Ephraim isn't the firstborn, but it's my firstborn.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It calls back to the whole thing of just blanked out. I was gonna say, just really God's own choice and decision making, like in His plan, and I don't know. To me, it is also kind of like the whole like children of promise, because like even with Sarah and Hagar, I don't know if that's necessarily a stretch, but like the whole thing is, or in the same way, Isaac was also like a secondborn. I mean, not the same.
Pretty much all the children in Genesis are not blessed how they're in the order they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, like you said, it's the whole like God doing the way doing things the way that He wants to.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else there? That was a pretty short section. I just wanted to stop there real quick. Okay, we'll move on. Hear the word of Yahweh, O nations, and declare in the coastlands far away, and say, He who dispersed Israel will gather him, and keep him as a shepherd keeps his flock. For Yahweh has ransomed Jacob, and redeemed him from the hand of him who is stronger than he. They will come and sing for joy on the height of Zion, and they will be radiant over the goodness of Yahweh, over the grain and the new wine and the oil, and over the young of the flock and the herd. And their soul will be like a watered garden, and they will never waste away again. Then the virgin will be glad in the dance, and the young men and the old together. For I will turn their mourning into joy, and I will comfort them, and give them gladness for their sorrow. I will fill the soul of the priest with richness, and my people will be satisfied with my goodness, declares Yahweh. We'll stop there. So just continuing on with what we've been saying, what happened? What does God say in these verses?
He makes the shepherd analogy like explicit.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to shepherd them.
Yeah. More of the same sort of imagery. Just it's the whole idea of things aren't just going to be good; they're going to be like really, really good. Like they will be radiant. That is the whole like idea of like Moses glowing, like God's glory shining like on the mountain.
And what's really cool about this is that, like, to go with that imagery, whenever Moses came down from the mountain, and his face was like glowing. That was a message to the people of Israel that Moses had been in the presence of God.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's expanded because now it's the people of Israel who are radiant, and Jeremiah is telling the nations to pay attention. Right? I think that's where it's like
That's true.
it's like you literally see like God's whole plan from the beginning in Genesis was through Israel all the nations of the world will be blessed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so it's like Moses, he met with God in the wilderness, right? Like in the first Exodus, right? He met with God in the wilderness, he comes down, his face is glowing, and Israel's like, wow, Moses has been with God. And now Jeremiah is saying, hey nations, pay attention to what God's about to do with Israel. Because he's about to bring them back, and their faces are going to be glowing. And I want you to see what he's about to do when he brings about a second Exodus. Because through that Exodus, you're going to come to know God. And spoiler alert, that's what's going to happen because Jesus is going to be the one who ultimately brings them back from their exile, and all of us are Gentiles. So we're the nations who saw Israel glowing, and we're like, ah! And I just think that's cool.
Yeah.
I also love verse 11. Yahweh has ransomed Jacob and redeemed him from the hand of him who was stronger than he. This also, to me, it calls back to the first Exodus as well. Like the idea of like Israel standing on the opposite side of the Red Sea, looking back, and being like, we could never have taken out the Egyptian army on our own. Right? Like, the Egyptian army was stronger than us. They are an army, we're slaves. But God delivered us from the hand of he who was stronger than us. Right? And so, like, the idea is, like, that is how God gets glory. Right? He takes a very weak people, and he uses them to shame the strong.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And through that, people come to him. Right? That's why in the first Exodus story, the repeated phrase again and again is, thus you shall know that I am Yahweh, who delivered you from Egypt. Like the first Exodus, the whole purpose was to bring Israel to God, right? He was like basically flexing his muscles and saying, this is what I can do for you. But according to Jeremiah, this so-called second Exodus is not just to bring the Jewish people to God. It's also to bring the Gentile people to God, right? Where God is flexing his muscles, and he's doing it in order that the nations, the Gentiles, us, we could look at the Jewish people and be like, I want a part of that God. Right? And so like it's kind of cool to where it's like thus the nation shall know that I am the Lord who delivers you from those who are stronger than you. Like just kind of cool.
Yeah. Let's say oh yeah, and like in verse 12 there, and their soul will be like a watered garden. That's also stuff in like Psalm 23, right? Where it's like my neck, or no. What's the psalm where David says, "My soul pants for you"?
Psalm 63.
Okay, where it's like with like the word neck doesn't it also kind of
yes.
Doesn't it also mean like soul?
Yes, that's the word
nefesh.
Yeah. What verse are you in?
Oh, here verse 12. I don't know the
I was
psalm.
gonna look to see if it was something.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
Wait. In verse 12?
Yeah, in Jeremiah.
31, right?
Where are you seeing the word throat or?
No, I said in their soul be like a water.
Oh, soul. Sorry. I was looking for throat.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I guarantee you soul is a nefesh. What's that?
Nefesh. Isn't that like the is that Greek or Hebrew for breath or neck?
Yeah, it's both.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, nefesh. Yeah, soul, life, throat.
Okay.
Yeah, so the imagery, like their throat will be like a watered garden, right?
Yeah, and there's also the idea of them like drinking like from a river
Yeah.
or stream, or I guess like a. Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll never waste away again. And then, again, something that we've gone over a lot is the whole like, I will turn their, trying to think of the exact phrase. Like I'll turn like their joy into weeping.
Yeah.
Like I will turn their gladness into mourning.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's kind of the reverse. Like the whole idea of all this is their sorrow will become gladness.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to become even more explicit later on in this chapter. I think where he goes on to say like the voice of the bridegroom, the voice of the bride thing that we've been seeing again and again. I think so.
Yeah, I think that's later on.
And then verse 14, where it says, I will fill the soul of the priest with richness. and my people will be satisfied with my goodness. This calls back to like Psalm 63. I'll be satisfied as with fat and rich foods. But then also Psalm 23, which we've been talking about. Surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life, right? And my cup overflows. Like, so the language is like, it's taking all of the hymns that the people sang about God and saying, I'm going to realize those, right? It's like...
Yeah, and later they're going to really quote, they're going to actually quote one of the Psalms.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure. I get even, like, I mean, the way that this is formatted, it should like even the quotation. Also with that verse, there's also what was I gonna say? Oh, just like the whole like Yahweh is my portion. I don't remember if is the language like my portion. Can that also kind of refer to like how the priests had like their portion like of like the fat off like the fat of like the offering and stuff?
Maybe.
I
mean, I more just think of Deuteronomy 32.
Where it says, chapter.
Well, it says that God, whenever He dispersed the nations, He numbered them according to the sons of God, and then it says, but Yahweh's portion is Israel.
Yeah.
So
I guess Jacob, yeah.
Or Jacob's, yeah.
Yeah. I kind of like how often like Jacob's mentioned here, and then we're about to read Rachel too.
I think it's setting that up. Like, I think it's like he keeps calling, like, I think he's trying to remind them of their history, because it emphasizes faithfulness, right? Like, the idea is like everybody remembers the story of Jacob. Jacob was not like a shining star. Like, Jacob was a pretty messed up dude.
Yeah.
Yet God worked through Jacob. And so it makes sense that he'd be like, hey, like, the reason you're called Israel is because Israel was the name I gave Jacob. And I was faithful to Jacob. And I got Jacob through all of his crap. And if I can get Jacob through his crap, I can get you through your crap too. Right?
That's true.
I think it's setting that all up, and it's going to set up a pretty cool thing we'll talk about in a second. But
yeah, and then next chapter as well, I think. Yeah. Okay. We'll go ahead and move on. Verse 15. Thus says Yahweh, a voice is heard in Ramah, wailing and bitter weeping. Rachel is weeping for her children. She refuses to be comforted for her children because they are no more. Thus says Yahweh, restrain your voice from weeping and your eyes from tears, for your work will be rewarded, declares Yahweh. And they will return from the land of the enemy. And there is hope for your future, declares Yahweh. And your children will return to the land or to their own territory. I have surely heard Ephraim grieving. You have chastised me, and I was chastised like an untrained calf. Cause me to return that I return, for you are Yahweh my God. For after I turned away, I repented, and after I was instructed, I slapped my thigh. I was ashamed and also dishonored, because I bore the reproach of my youth. Is Ephraim my dear son? Is he a delighted child? Indeed, as often as I have spoken against him, I certainly still remember him. Therefore my inmost being yearns for him. I will surely have compassion on him, declares Yahweh. We'll stop there. Yeah, so what's going on here? There's a bit going on, but
verse 15 might sound familiar to people who've read the Christmas story.
Because I think Herod went to go kill all the children in Bethlehem, and there was Rachel was weeping for her children.
We're going to talk about that. Or actually, let me just quote this now. That way we can talk about it together. But
yeah.
So, Christmas time's coming up, right?
It's true.
And around Christmas time, you typically hear this story. But shortly after Jesus was born, there's these magi who these magi who came to visit Jesus, right? And they come to Herod the Great. They're like, "Hey, there's this baby king who was born. We're gonna go check him out." And Herod's like, "Oh, let us know about it. I want to worship him too." He did not want to worship him, right? And so the wise men, they leave, right? They don't go tell Herod the Great where Jesus is at. So Herod the Great says, "You know what? I'm going to kill a bunch of babies," because he wants to defend his power. So it says, this is Matthew chapter 2. Then when Herod saw that he had been tricked by the Magi, he became very enraged, and he sent and slew all the male children who were in Bethlehem and in all its vicinity, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had carefully determined from the Magi. Then what had been spoken through Jeremiah the prophet was fulfilled, saying, a voice was heard in Ramah, weeping and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children, and she was refusing to be comforted because they were no more. But when Herod died, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, get up, take the child and his mother, and go back to the land. So the question becomes, how the heck is that a fulfillment of prophecy? Because is there anything in verse 15, which would lead you to think, oh yeah, that's about a bunch of kids being killed at the time of the Messiah's birth?
Nope.
Matthew seems to think so.
Yeah.
So the question becomes how.
Good question.
So I just want to highlight that because we need to talk about it in its context, but then we can also reflect on it briefly.
That's true. That is true.
So what is it saying in its original context? Verse 15.
Well, it seems to be talking about weeping over like the death and destruction of the exile, and God's basically comforting the people, saying like, please don't weep, because in the end your work will be rewarded. Like there is a future hope.
Yeah.
Of restoration.
Yeah. So I guess there's a few things to this. First off, where is Ramah? Does anybody know?
Isn't it near Bethlehem?
So it's near Jerusalem. Ramah is directly north of Jerusalem, and Bethlehem is directly south of Jerusalem. So basically, it's a suburb of both Ramah and Bethlehem are suburbs of Bethlehem. Ramah and Bethlehem are suburbs of Jerusalem, right? And that's significant because anybody know where Rachel was buried?
I would assume in Ramah.
Not Ramah. She was buried in Bethlehem.
Oh yeah, that's where she died.
Yes,
right?
yes,
Because they were on the way to
I don't remember where they were on their way to.
Bethel or something like that.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, so that's I think that's actually the first time we hear about Bethlehem in the Bible. It's for Rachel's death, right? And so the reason why it brings Ramah up here, and Rachel, is because first off, as the Babylonians were taking the Jewish people into captivity, we know that Ramah was one of the cities where they would like gather them before they shipped them off, basically. And so the idea is that you've got all these captives who are being kept in Ramah before they're going off into captivity, and these are the descendants of Rachel, right? Because if Jacob is the father of the Israelite people, well, Rachel was his like beloved wife.
Yeah.
And she's the father of his favorite kids, Joseph and Benjamin. And so you've got this idea of like, as the sons of Jacob are being carried into captivity, his wife is weeping on behalf of her children, right? And she's like, "Oh no, what has happened?" Right? But then the question becomes, it says she refused to be comforted for her children because they are no more. Yeah. Makes sense, right? It's like it's a mother weeping because like her children, you think of Jacob's own story. Whenever he thought that Joseph was dead, he refused to be comforted. Right, so like Rachel was like torn up, like, oh my gosh, like what's happening to my children here? So that's the context here, right? Ironically, it's like the only negative verse in this entire chapter. It's like all these good things are going to happen, but right now Rachel is weeping. All these good things are going to happen. It's kind of weird, but the question becomes, why does Matthew grab onto this verse later on?
Because of all the killing, of the children in Lamah during the reign of Herod the Great. I think it was Herod the Great.
Yeah.
King Herod.
So I think part of this you might have to understand what Matthew is doing in his gospel. But in the context of this, ultimately, who is in the context of Jeremiah, who's the one who is killing the children, metaphorically?
Nebuchadnezzar,
the Babylonians.
Yeah, I guess in the case of Matthew, since Jesus is essentially like a metaphorical Israel, it is like, since they go to Egypt, don't they? So he's like literally going to, like, I guess it is kind of like him going into exile.
Yeah.
And so like, in the same way, he's going to come back from exile, and then he will be the one he'll be the Messiah. Yeah,
yeah. So basically, Herod, so Matthew does a few things with Herod here, like to where a few verses earlier, he compares Herod to Pharaoh, right? So,
that's right. Yeah.
So he compares Herod to Pharaoh, who is trying to kill babies, right? Because if you go back to the Exodus story, Pharaoh tries to kill babies, and Moses is delivered. So Jesus is the greater Moses.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah. And
then, when you get a few verses later, Matthew is comparing Herod to Nebuchadnezzar, who also is killing Rachel's children, right?
Mhm.
And Jesus is the remnant, the one who escapes and goes into exile, and then ultimately comes back, right? And whenever he comes back, he comes to restore the kingdom, right? And so that's what's like happening there, and it's relevant because Jesus is born in Bethlehem, right? He's born in the city where Rachel died, right? And so when you read all that together, you're like, oh, like you have to understand what Matthew's doing there. It's like he's basically shrouding it in metaphor, to where it's like, okay, Jesus is Israel, Herod is Nebuchadnezzar, going to Egypt is going in exile, and then he's going to come back and restore things. And so, and all of this, like, keep in mind, like I said, verse 15 is the only negative verse in the entire chapter, pretty much. This negative thing is happening in order that the new covenant can be produced, right? So
Yeah,
Jesus is being hunted down, and he's being like, they're trying to kill him, but he's having to go through this in order to pave the way for the new covenant. And also it highlights that at the time period, Herod the Great and like the Jewish people were the ones enslaving themselves. So
yeah, because I think Matthew also said he fulfilled out of Egypt I called my son when he leaves, right?
yeah,
Not whenever he leaves Egypt.
So the idea is that Israel has become Egypt,
Egypt,
and
yeah.
Egypt has become it's a whole complicated thing.
Yeah, not the most. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there is hope for your future. So your children will return to their own territories. So yeah, like maybe y'all won't, but your children will. And so he is trying to comfort them and remind, like he says, save your tears because in the end things will be made right.
Yeah. Which is interesting in the context, right? Because it says that Rachel is the one weeping, and I think when it says Rachel, it's basically that's like a metaphor for all the mothers in Israel, right? So all of them are weeping, and he says, "Don't cry, it's going to work out in the end," right? Which again, if you read that into the context of the Jesus story, it's also kind of cool. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. So what about verses like 18 through 20? You have any thoughts there? So what does Ephraim say?
They learn the lesson.
Yeah.
You have chastised me, and I was chastised like an untrained calf. Cause me to return that I may return, for you are Yahweh my God.
Do you notice who they're depending on?
God.
Yeah. Cause me to return that I may return. It's like,
Yeah.
they're like, okay, we've learned our lesson, but we know that you're the only one who can bring us back.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Literally going back to earlier, with weeping they will come and return. Like this is kind of the same thing going on here. Like this would be like the moment where it's like they're returning, like they're repenting.
Mhm.
Like this is the weeping that we were mentioning earlier. And then how does God respond in verse 20 to Ephraim's greeting and repentance?
Verse 20?
Yeah, like how does God respond to verse 18, 19?
Have compassion on them.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a sweet verse. Is
Yeah.
Ephraim my dear son? Is he a delightful child? And like part of the way how it's asked, you almost expect it to be a no, right?
Yeah.
But then he says, "Indeed, as often as I have spoken against him, I certainly still remember him. Therefore, my inmost being yearns for him. I will surely have compassion on him." It's like the idea is like, I know I've said a lot of bad stuff against Ephraim, but all of it has come from love. Like I want so badly for Ephraim to come to me, which again is pretty cool because Jeremiah is talking about a people who do not exist at this time, right? Like he's talking about the Northern Kingdom, and they have not existed for 150 years, right? That's like, I don't know. That's so interesting to me, like for his original audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true. I was gonna say in verse 20 when he says, "I will have compassion." What's the word there for compassion again?
I would think racham, but let me check. I would assume it's the same word from like
Like
Hosea.
doesn't say from Hosea?
Yeah, let me see.
Because technically, usually Hosea is translated mercy, but I think I looked this up earlier. and
Yeah,
it was
it's
the same.
Raham. Same thing.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess technically it is kind of the same, really the same thing there.
Yeah.
They will no longer be called Lo Ruhamah, but I will have mercy and compassion on them.
Well, I love it because it says, "I will surely have compassion." So it's compassioning. I will have compassion. That's like that double term there, where it's like,
Gotcha.
yeah,
That's funny.
it's like with compassion, I will have compassion. Like it's like double compassion.
Heck yeah. Anything else there to comment on? No? Okay, we can move on. Verse 21. Set up road marks for yourself. Place for yourself a guidepost. Set your heart to the highway, the way by which you went. Return, O Virgin of Israel, return to these your cities. How long will you go here and there, O faithless daughter? For Yahweh has created a new thing in the earth. A woman will encompass a man. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel. Once again they will speak this word in the land of Judah and in the cities when I return their fortunes. Yahweh bless you, O abode of righteousness, O holy hill. In Judah and all its cities will inhabit it together, the farmer and they who go about it with flocks. For I satisfy the weary soul, and fill up every soul who wastes away. At this I awoke and looked, and my sleep was pleasant to me. We'll stop there. Okay, so what's said there? See some language from a different prophet we've talked about. So what did we just talk about? Ephraim repented, essentially. And then God basically says, I will have compassion, I will take him back in. And the idea is like he's going to bring them back to him. So then how does God then continue on? He says, set up road marks for yourself. What is the imagery in verse 21? Or does it remind you of any scripture we've already talked about?
Isaiah 40.
Yeah.
Like the idea of like prepare the way in the wilderness, make a highway for God.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
Yes.
I don't remember if Isaiah was specifically talking about Isaiah or Israel specifically, or Judah, or both. But
he was specifically talking about Judah returning from Babylon.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess here he's not.
Because he had literally just announced, y'all going to Babylonian captivity. And it says, comfort, comfort my people.
That's what I was thinking. I guess that is, strangely enough, not the case here, huh?
It kind of is. Like, again, how he's using Israel here, it's like, it seems like he's going back and forth to where it could mean both, but then he does say Ephraim, which seems more about the northern kingdom.
Yeah.
But in a second, whenever he gets to like the new covenant stuff, it's going to be about both Israel and Judah. So like, I think if anything, maybe the emphasis on Israel is just reinforcing the fact that it's like his cup, like he is so faithful that he hasn't forgotten the northern kingdom. So I think that the application could apply to both, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What I think is interesting is that he keeps calling her Virgin Israel, despite the fact that like he calls her Virgin Israel in verse 21, but then in verse 22 he says, "O faithless daughter."
It's
like
true.
The idea is like he's saying, "Return, O Virgin Israel." So like in the future he's going to call her Virgin Israel, but right now, how long will you go here and there, O faithless daughter? So like it's like in the future you're going to be a virgin, but right now you're sleeping around. Like the question becomes like, wait, how does that work? Because typically virginity doesn't like come back. You know, it's like once you give up your virginity, it's gone. But like he's saying in the future you're going to be a virgin, but right now you're sleeping around. It's like, huh? But again, it's paving the way for something that's like, not that virginity is like, not that losing your virginity is a disease, but like it goes back to the idea of like the incurable disease, right? It's like, like one would say that once you've lost your virginity, you can't unlose it.
Right.
But the way he's talking about it is that he's going to do something that metaphorically makes them innocent again. Mm-hmm. It's like once you've lost your innocence, you can't regain it. But he says, I'm gonna make you regain it.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
was interesting.
at the very least, the idea of sleeping around for sure is often tied to like disease,
Yeah.
like we've talked about before.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a good point though. It definitely necessitates that something has to happen
Yeah.
that we would not be capable of doing.
Well, yeah, it's almost like a new thing has to happen on the earth, which is what he says. For Yahweh has created a new thing in the earth. It's like God's like, I'm about to do something big. Don't ask me what a woman will encompass a man thing means.
Yeah.
I looked it up. There's like several interpretations.
The only thing I could really find was it had to do with like the like a kind of like the weak, like him using the weak to shame the strong.
Yeah.
Like him like empowering them.
Yeah, like I saw that, and then I said like I saw people like talking about like the imagery of like birth.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like all these stuff. I was like, I have no idea. I don't know what that's referring to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I basically just saw that, and then like the Messiah stuff, and then the other people said the Messiah thing was kind of silly, but I have no
Yeah.
idea.
yeah, I don't know.
But either way, so yeah, they're gonna return back, and they will become a virgin again, and so that basically, like I said, something has to happen that involves, you know, some sort of cleansing of sin and, you know, not remembering former iniquity. Yeah.
And because all this stuff happens, once again, they will speak this word in the land of Judah and in its cities when I return their fortunes. Yahweh bless you, O abode of righteousness, O holy hill. Like, it's like they're coming back to him.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting, once again, is that that's never been sustainable. Like, every time he's restored them to him, they've left again. But he's making it sound like they're not going to leave this time. It's like they're going to be established in the land, and they're going to worship him rightly. And Judah and all its cities will have together the farmer and they who go but with the flocks. For I satisfy the weary soul and fill up every soul who wastes away. So once again, throat. Right?
Yeah. And here it mentions Judah
Yeah.
by name.
At this I woke and looked, and my sleep was pleasant to me. So I guess this was all a dream.
I guess so. Yeah.
And it was all a dream. Imagine just Jeremiah waking up being like, that was awesome. That was a great dream.
Heck yeah. Okay. Anything else I want to comment on through those verses? Okay, we can probably move on. What time is it, by the way?
8:40.
40? Okay.
We got just enough time to talk about the new covenant.
Yeah.
Okay. Dang. Okay.
Yeah.
Was hoping for, I was kind of hoping for the next chapter, but that's alright.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a long chapter. We're not going to have time for that one.
Nope. Alright. Behold, days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of man and with the seed of beast. And it will be that as I have watched over them to uproot, to tear down, to pull down, to destroy, and to bring calamity, so I will watch over them to build and to plant, declares Yahweh. In those days they will not say again, the fathers have eaten sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge. But everyone will die for his own iniquity. Each man who eats the sour grapes, his teeth will be set on edge. Behold, days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I will cut a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Not like the covenant which I cut with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, my covenant which they broke. But I was a husband to them, declares Yahweh. But this is the covenant which I will cut with the house of Israel after those days, declares Yahweh. I will put my law within them, and on their hearts I will write it. And I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And they will not teach again, each man his neighbor and each man his brother, saying, Know Yahweh. For they all will know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them, declares Yahweh. For I will forgive their iniquity, and their sin I will remember no more. We'll stop there. Okay. What does he say there?
So this is like where Jeremiah gets his big answer. Right? Like, for so long, Jeremiah's been like, how are you possibly going to fix this issue? Like, the disease is incurable. And God's like, I know it's incurable. I diagnosed it. And Jeremiah's like, but there's no way out. And God's like, I know, there's no way out. Your heart is desperately wicked. And Jeremiah's like, but what are you going to do? And he's like, I'm going to fix it and lead you out of it. And it's like, how? And God finally is like, well, I'm just going to make a new covenant. Which, I don't see enough people reflecting on this aspect of it. It is bonkers that he would make another covenant. Like, so far, with all the other covenants, they've just broken it, right?
It's true.
I mean, like, with the Noahic covenant, he's like, hey guys, let's stop, like, killing people and being evil. And they're like, we're going to kill people and be more evil. He's like, okay. With, like, Abraham, he's like, hey guys, like, if you just, like, are faithful to me, like, I'm going to, like, give you all these things. They're like, well, will you give them to us if we're unfaithful? It's like, okay. And then he's like, hey, like, guys, I'm going to give you all this law. And if y'all, like, follow the law and serve me only, like, y'all will do well in the land. And they're like, what if we, like, don't follow the law and serve other gods? It's like, okay. And then, like, he goes to David. He's like, hey, David, like, if you and your descendants faithfully serve me, I'm going to give you an eternal throne. And the descendants are like, but what if we, like, don't serve you faithfully? Like, every covenant God has made to them, they have broken. To where, for me, if I were making promises to people, like, if I was making agreements with people all the time, like, if me and Nick were just, you know, I was, like, constantly making deals with Nick, and every single time he broke his end of the deal, you would think that I'd just be like, you know what? I'm done making deals with Nick.
I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just gonna stop. Like, I'm done with this guy, I'm gonna go to somebody else.
Say the full name once.
Yeah, exactly, right? But God says, I'm gonna make a new covenant with Israel and Judah. And it's like, so immediately that should, like, intrigue you, because you're like, wait a second. If he's doing this, he must think that this covenant is going to, like, fix things. Because if it doesn't fix things, he's just being foolish. Right? Like, if they broke the first covenant, making another covenant isn't going to magically fix things, right?
Yeah.
Unless part of this new covenant helps them obey. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? And so that's basically the big answer. It's like, he's like, oh, I'm going to fix it through this new covenant. And so it's like, how? And so that's where it's like all of a sudden you're intrigued. You're like, tell me more. Like, what exactly is the deal with this new covenant? And he's going to spell it out here. So,
Yep. It's like, man needs a helper.
yeah. Speaking of which, I need to grab a book over here. I think it's over here. Y'all keep talking and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what is he saying there in verses 29 and 30? So he says, in those days, which I guess, what days is he referring to?
In the days when the new covenant is established.
Yeah, or actually, I guess before that, what do y'all think about in verse 27, he says, I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of man and the seed of beasts. Have we encountered the seed of beasts as like a thing?
I don't think so.
No.
It just seems a little out of place.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Okay. And then we see again the same language from the very beginning of Jeremiah, the whole uproot, tear down, pull down, destroy. But now we see that this is the time to actually plant and build up. So we've been talking about mostly tearing down and uprooting, whether it's been Judah or other nations, but now he's actually planting and building up. And in 29 he says, they will not say again, the fathers have... So it says, the fathers have eaten sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge. And then in verse 30, so...
Everyone will die for his own iniquity. Each man who eats the sour grapes, his teeth will be set on edge.
Yeah. Which seems to be...
So it's almost like in the past, it was the children of the fathers who were, punished for the sins of their fathers. Like, their fathers were the ones committing the sin, but the children were the ones who were punished. But under the new covenant, it will be that anyone who sins will be punished in their own right, and their children won't have to serve that same punishment. That's kind of how I'm reading it.
That's what it seems to read as. Something to do with just the way previously things have been, how things have been dealt.
Yeah, well, I think it's the idea of like there's greater mercy, but also greater responsibility.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, it's like there's a greater responsibility in the sense of sometimes if you sinned, you know, you might God might be merciful enough, and you might not experience the consequence of your actions.
Yeah.
And it might not be until your grandkids who they're the ones who receive the brunt of it. Whereas God says, well, no, with this newer covenant, there's heightened
It's
responsibilities.
kind of like Hezekiah's response to when God told him that they were going to be sent to
Yeah.
Babylon.
Yeah.
He was like, they're going to be sent to Babylon, but not in your day. And Hezekiah's was like, phew.
Yeah, but where God's saying, well, no, the way this new covenant's going to work is that each person is responsible for his own actions.
Yeah.
So there's a greater accountability, but also there is greater mercy, because that means it doesn't affect us long term, right? So it's like the way that like my actions in regards to the new covenant won't affect my kids' actions, right? Whereas under the old covenant, if one generation is sitting in the land, well, the next generation might be living in exile.
Yeah.
Whereas like the specific nature of this new covenant is that it's going to require individual choice to participate in it.
It's much more personal.
Yeah, it's a very personal thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is a pretty, like, I guess that's a pretty interesting way to introduce the covenant, which is what he talks about right after.
Yes, everyone will die for his own iniquity. Each man who eats his own grapes, his teeth will be set on edge. Behold, days are coming when I will cut a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. So again, notice who the covenant's with.
Mm-hmm.
It's with both houses.
Both houses, Israel and Judah, right? So that's why we would call this the new covenant, because the Mosaic covenant, like the law that was given under Moses, it seems like it runs parallel with it.
Yeah.
Right, to where it's not even really an entirely new covenant; it's an update to the old covenant, right?
Yeah.
To where it's the same covenant, but the terms and conditions are changing ever so slightly.
Yeah.
Right.
Notice
And
that
we'll talk about how. But
it doesn't mention Gentiles at all here. Like, it doesn't mention, like, that, at least right now here, he's not saying, like, oh, and the Gentiles are also.
I don't think it necessarily needs to.
Yeah.
Given the things that we've been talking about.
No,
Yes.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to get, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's actually an argument that some people, like some Jewish people, will make against Christianity. Because they'll say, oh, no, the new covenant is not about Gentiles. Unless the Gentiles somehow become part of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In which case, now all of a sudden...
Yeah, if anything, it's more, not so much evidence against it, it's just, if anything, it's evidence of, like, it's almost like some rhetorical questions where it's like, like when Jesus says, like, why do you call me good? And it's like, he's not saying he's not good, he's saying, like,
Yeah.
it's a rhetorical question, like, wait, why do you call me good? Like, only God can be good.
Yeah.
Implication being he's God. But, kind of the same thing here. And notice here, so the old covenant was whenever he cut that old covenant right after the or in the day that like the first Exodus happened, and so again this new covenant's going to happen under the second Exodus.
Yes.
Which, even though he's been mainly talking about bringing them back from exile, technically this isn't going to happen when they come back from exile.
Well, it is. It's just they might be defining the word exile wrong.
Right. Oh, I guess actually, yeah.
Yeah.
When
It's not gonna happen when they return from Babylon.
Babylon. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I should have said. Yeah. Which I guess, like you said, is something they would have ended up recognizing. And he says, "My covenant which they broke, but I was a husband to them." Why do you think he mentions that there?
Let's see. Probably because whenever he established the covenant at Mount Sinai, pretty much most people recognize it as like a betrothal ceremony, like to where that's where he says, "I will be your God, you will be my people." Like it sounds like a husband and a wife getting married.
Yeah.
And so like they betrothed themselves to each other, and they broke their end of the deal. But one thing we know from Scripture is that God takes marriage very seriously, and He doesn't take divorce lightly. And so He's been threatening them with divorce this entire time. But if you look at books like Hosea, Hosea was a prophet who was sent to marry an adulterous woman, and whenever she cheated on him and sold herself back into prostitution, God says, "Go and purchase her." Right? So like the idea is like God is sending a message that this is how He relates to His people. They cheat on Him, but He's gonna give it back. And so I think it's highlighting they broke the old covenant, but I want to renew our vows. And this time, I'm going to specify some things. and like the way that they renew their vows is going to make it to where she never cheats again, which is cool.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking of something, but I'll think about that later. Okay, so we move on to verse 33. This is the covenant which I will cut with the house of Israel after those days. I will put my law within them, and on their heart I will write it. And I will be their God, and they shall be my people. So let's dig into that. We already kind of have, but what really is he saying there?
So first off, it's giving them this great sense of expectation, right? Like for the Jewish people, like they know their history, right? They went down to Egypt, they were freed from Egypt, they went through the Red Sea, they came to Mount Sinai, they received a covenant, and literally every single year they have holidays that celebrate all these things. And now God says, I'm going to do another thing, right? I'm going to send you into captivity again. I'm going to free you from captivity again. I'm going to establish a greater covenant with you, and this right here is going to make all the difference in the world. He says, I'm going to change something about you that's going to make it so that you don't cheat on me anymore. And if you've been reading the book so far, you already know what needs to change, right? It's their heart.
Yeah.
Right? The heart is desperately sick, right? That is the incurable disease, right? The thing that Jeremiah's been struggling this whole time is he's looking at himself and he's like, my heart is so wicked, and our hearts are so wicked. Even your own people can't serve you. And so God says, okay, well, here's the deal. I will put my law within them, and on their heart I will write it. So he's like, I'm going to give you a new heart, right? I guess that language specifically, he doesn't say new heart in here at all, right?
No.
I think that language specifically comes from Ezekiel later on. But that's the imagery, right? So in Exodus, the law was written on tablets of stone, right?
Yeah.
Whereas now he says, I'm going to write my law on your very heart. The question is how, right? And this is where you're going to have to wait till Ezekiel to get the answer, really. He's going to hint at it here, but Ezekiel's going to say, I'm going to put my spirit within them, right? The idea is that God himself is going to somehow come to dwell inside of man, and that's going to be how they walk in obedience to him.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, it's like, because also the tablets, like, where they end up like being after the days of like the Exodus, or I guess even during the days of the Exodus, where they end up like settling in.
They were in the Ark of the Covenant.
In the Ark, which is like a moving temple essentially.
Yes.
And so, like in the same way, it's like literally a tablet within like the Ark.
Yeah, he's gonna make y'all he's gonna make every single person individual Arks of the Covenant, and together they are the temple of God.
Yeah, and then you go back to Deuteronomy, and again, circumcision is like the sign of the covenant, and then they say circumcise your heart.
Yes.
It's the same thing. It's like the covenant is written on the heart.
Yeah.
Like the sign of this covenant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that day, I will be their God, and they shall be my people. So, the reason I wanted to grab a book, turns out I was looking at the wrong book. It's the book that we're going through, actually. This is from chapter 2.
Oh, nice.
I was looking at the wrong one because they have very similar topics. But this one, he talks about the new covenant, and he emphasizes that the distinctive focus of the new covenant is the mechanism of the restoration, right? So all the other promises in there are not that like unique, right? I mean, like Jeremiah talks about Israel's covenant infidelity.
Mm-hmm.
We've known about that, right? He talks about the curses that's coming upon them because of their infidelity. We've known about that too. And he's also talking about the restoration, right? And we've known about that. The main thing that sets this passage apart is that he communicates how he's going to do it, right? And the mechanism is he's going to give them a new heart. And so that's like he doesn't say new heart. He's going to put the law in their heart, right? And that's going to be the thing that makes all the difference in the world, right? It's no longer going to be them looking at tablets of stone that are placed in the Ark of the Covenant and mediated through priests. Instead, he is going to make them a kingdom of priests and a holy nation who are portable arks of the covenant, who collectively are the temple of God, and in that way they're going to be obedient to him. Which is cool because you're like, once again, you don't have all the answers. You're like, but how? Like, because, I mean, if you go back to Exodus and Leviticus and stuff, you know that was a whole process, right? I mean, like, even building the tabernacle and the Ark of the Covenant, several chapters are dedicated to that. And so the question becomes, okay, what you're describing here sounds like a way bigger deal than what happened there. You're going to have to do something much bigger in order to accomplish it.
Yeah.
And then you think of Leviticus with all the sacrifices of bulls and lambs and goats. It's like, if all the bulls and lambs and goats were required to be sacrificed in order to have God's law dwell on tablets of stone, what type of sacrifice is going to be necessary for God's law to come dwell in our hearts? And that's like the question that's behind all of this. We're like, how's that going to happen? And ultimately, his point is that in order for Israel to truly be restored, Israel has to be made righteous. Right? That's the only way. Like that's like the revelation from the book of Jeremiah. Right? He's like, we've got a sin problem. We're wicked. We can't be free from it. And God says, I'm going to fix it. How? I'm going to make you righteous. Okay. So you're like, sweet, that's awesome. But how are you going to make us righteous? So there is still a lingering question. But this verse right here is that it explains at least the solution. Right? He hasn't said how he's going to do it. He hasn't broken down the mechanics. But he has told us that's what's going to happen. Right?
Yeah.
He's going to make them righteous somehow. And that's going to be the thing that solves it, right? Because if humanity is righteous, there's no longer a problem. Because it's humanity's sin that's been the problem the whole time. So
yeah, that's true.
I think you scrolled to the previous slide on accident.
Oh, nice. I also like verse 34. Says they will not teach again each man his neighbor, saying, know Yahweh, for they will all know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them.
So once again, you got that personal nature of the relationship.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not going to need priests. They're not going to need mediators.
Mm.
They themselves will know him on a personal level. They will boldly be able to approach the throne of grace. And again, these are things that as Christians we can look back on and be like, oh yes, I understand this. But at the time, they would have been like honestly, this would have sounded like too good to be true. It's like, what? How is this possible?
In the last days, you'll understand.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember if it's been said yet in Jeremiah, but I will forgive their iniquity and their sin I will remember no more. I guess that would also be part of the solution too. There has to be the forgiveness of sin as well.
Yeah, because you make somebody righteous doesn't mean that that just gets rid of all the bad stuff they did before.
Yeah.
It's there has to be both, right? There's going to be the forgiveness for sins, and then somehow this imputed righteousness. And he hasn't told us how that's going to happen, but we at least know that's where the story's heading.
There's still got to be a payment made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Anything else I want to comment on those verses? I'm sure there's plenty more we could talk about. Okay, we can move on. 35. Thus says Yahweh, who gives the sun for light by day, and the statutes for the moon and the stars for light by night, who stirs up the sea so that its waves roar. Yahweh of hosts is his name. If these statutes are removed from before me, declares Yahweh, then the seed of Israel will also cease from being a nation before me forever. Thus says Yahweh, if the heavens above can be measured and the foundations of the earth searched out below, then I will also reject all the seed of Israel for all they have done, declares Yahweh. Behold, days are coming, declares Yahweh, when the city will be rebuilt for Yahweh from the tower of Hananel to the corner gate. The measuring line will go out farther, straight ahead to the hill Gareb. Then it will also turn to Goah. And the whole valley of the dead bodies and of the ashes, and all the fields as far as the brook Kidron, to the corner of the horse gate toward the east, shall be holy to Yahweh. It will not be uprooted or pulled down any more forever. So there's the end of the chapter. So verses 35 through 37. What do y'all think he's saying there? I guess I have my own thought, but
I think he's kind of being humorous a little bit, where it's like,
I think he likes me.
like to me, it's like the idea is like he's basically again flexing just how powerful he is. He says, "Guys, I'm the one who basically created all things and holds all of it together."
mm-hmm.
He says, "If you think like the person who can match my power and who can successfully search all my creation, they're the only person who has the right to revoke the promise I just made." Like, to me, it seems like that's what he's suggesting, right? So it's like, yes, I give light for day. By my statutes, I give the moon to shine by night. And he says, if anybody can remove those statutes, then sure, I'll revoke Israel and I'll forget them. But the idea is like, nobody can do that. It's like, yeah, like we're.
I guess the way I was reading it was more about like he was clarifying that he can't accomplish the same thing by like annulling the law. Like, because he's talking about this new covenant, and he's talking about like forgiving their sin, and I don't know if it's because they would be like assumed like, oh, maybe he's gonna like do away with the law, but
I can see that.
it seems like that's kind of how I read it. He was saying like the law is still what makes Israel, so it's not about undoing the law. It's like, and obviously that is a true thing, but like he's saying if the statutes are removed, then the seed of Israel will also cease from being a nation before me forever, because the law is what makes them a nation.
Well, I think he could be maybe making that point by making a broader point by saying that his statutes in general are irrevocable. So it's like the idea is like he says, I'm not going to change the laws of creation, much less would I change the laws that I've given the people. Mm-hmm. So those laws stand because that is the Torah is the very thing which makes Israel Israel. And so if I take away the law, they cease to be anything. But I'm going to, I guess, expand the covenant. And I'm going to do something deeper and better and more amazing than you could ever imagine.
I see.
If the heavens above can be measured and the foundation of the earth searched out below, then I will also reject the seed of Israel. Right? So, like, the idea is, like, you can't. Right? It's like he says, I refuse to. Like, I'm not, like... And you could actually imagine this, again, in light of everything Jeremiah said. The whole book of Jeremiah, like, he's been like, the people are breaking your law. They're breaking your covenant. They hate you. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. And you're going to punish them for it. And then God says, I'm going to make another covenant. And he'd be like, God, wouldn't it make more sense to, like, I don't know, make a covenant with a different people? Like, just choose somebody else. And he says, okay, how about this? Whoever can search all of my creation, let him tell me to change things. But the idea is like, no. He says, I'm with Israel through and through. I'm not changing things.
Yeah.
I made a promise to them. I'm going to be faithful to it. Like the one who's in charge of creation is going to he's going to fulfill his promises to them. And so then he doubles down. He says, moreover, in future days, not only will Jerusalem be rebuilt, it's going to be better than ever.
That makes sense.
It's just
Hey, what's up, man?
So,
Good for you.
That is true. I guess in verse 37, I'm trying to think where it first popped up, but it reminds me of like the verse where it's like, who will ascend to the heavens and who will like descend below.
I'll look it up.
I think it's quoted in like Romans, but I think it's like a reference to something earlier, like a similar context.
Let's see. But the righteousness that is by faith says, do not say in your heart who will ascend into heaven, that is to bring Christ down. That's from Romans 10.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I don't know if that's. I was thinking somewhere else too, but that might be it.
Holy
Yeah, that makes sense. Basically, ultimately, he's just saying like this is not like this is going to happen. Nothing you can say, like nothing people can do will stop it.
Yeah. He basically said, I have spoken.
I have spoken.
this is the way I've spoken in the morning.
Joseph, you shut up right as we're wrapping up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in other words, this chapter is super encouraging. Like, again, probably not as encouraging to the original audience as it is to us. Because the original audience, I mean, he keeps saying, behold, the days are coming. Like, we live at a time period where the days already came. So we're like, man, I love this promise. Whereas for them, it's like, they're saying, okay, so hold up. You're saying that soon everything we know and love is going to be destroyed. We're going to be carried off into captivity. We're going to have to get comfortable in captivity because we're going to be there for a while. And then our grandkids are going to come back here. And then some point after our grandkids come back here, you're going to do something that restores the people. And then sometime after that, the Messiah is going to show up. And then sometime after the Messiah shows up, a new covenant's going to be established. And then after the new covenant's established, we're going to dwell together forever? And God's like, oh, there might be a few thousand years in between some of that. But yes, yes. And so, like, it's one of those things where it's a super encouraging chapter. And I would argue this chapter really ties, like, it was actually worth spending time breaking it down. Because this chapter really radically changes things going forward. Because it lets us know how committed God is to fixing the problem. Because so far, hey, Yuppie. No, buddy. We're not doing that right now, okay? Sorry, having to rebuke my dog real quick.
Yeah.
Like, basically this chapter is the moment where, like, God pulls a Thanos and says, fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
Because the whole time, he's been trying to work with man. And he obviously knew what he was going to do from the beginning, but he needed man to understand their need for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so man has finally gotten to the point where, like Jeremiah, they're crying out being like, God, like, even if we want to serve you, we can't. Our heart is too broken. It's too sinful, too wretched. And he says, you're right. He says, that's why in the future I'm going to make a new covenant. And in that covenant, I'm going to provide you with a way out. And I'm going to make you righteous so that you can live with me and we can be together forever. And the only way to respond to that is saying, like, but God, what do I have to do? It's like, but like, what about the Torah? And like, what about all that stuff? Like, was that not meant to make us righteous? And he said, well, no. I gave you the Torah to highlight that you couldn't do it. And that's why you need me. So what do I need to do? Turn to me. Like, that's, like, you know, so it's like this chapter really does make a big difference because it really, like, it makes very explicit what's been implied the entire Bible. Right? The idea that all God wants is your devotion. Right? And he's going to literally take care of the rest of it. Right? Like, and to me, I think that's really cool. Like, the idea is like, and that's like, for us as Christians nowadays, we can't boast in being like super righteous, good people because all we can say is, yeah, God has made me righteous. Right? And I can take credit for all the sin, but I can't take credit for the good stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And really this chapter really is, it is the, it's the shifting point where we get a full picture of like, oh, like he's literally going to have to change us on like a molecular level. Like he literally has to change our hearts. And it's like, okay, that's what it's going to take. We still don't know how, according like this far in the story, we don't know how that's going to happen. I mean, Isaiah hinted at it, right? It's like where he says there's going to be this suffering servant, and through like by his wounds we will be healed, and through him many like the sinful will become righteous. And so if you start like taking these different prophecies and like piecing them together, you're beginning to get like a full grasp of what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody would be like looking at this and be like, oh, I guess God's going to come in the flesh. And like again, nobody would know that until it happens.
Yeah.
But that's why the Christian movement takes off. Because it's like you see Jesus on the cross, you see him rising from the dead, and like it just clicks into place. They're like, oh, like this is what they were talking about, right? And like all of a sudden the Christians are like, well, this is what Isaiah is saying, and this is what Jeremiah is saying, and like for us it makes a lot of sense. Whereas God's revealing some crazy stuff here, and it's beneficial for us because we're 2,000 years removed from Christ, so we can look back and be like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But for the people at the time, it had to just be like a profound mystery, being like, we know God's going to do this, but we don't know how. And I find that fascinating. But
yeah, it's definitely like the climax of like the movie. That's like the movie climax, basically. Where
Yeah.
It's like a big reveal, and then like full throttle ahead, basically.
yeah. Yeah, literally full throttle. In the next chapter, doesn't Jeremiah get thrown in prison?
Yeah.
Yeah. So. It's like,
That's true.
hey, good news! I'm going to make a new covenant! That is good news! What's the next news? You're going to be in prison for a bit. So, right on!
Is this
Yeah,
before
more
this
time to think about it.
Yeah. But,
Dang.
or after?
this is all before the system, but.
All right. Well, as we wrap up, any more final thoughts or potential application points or anything of the sort?
I'll just quote, or I'll just end us with a quote from Romans that, I don't know, like chapters like this make me reflect on it. It's from the end of Romans 11. This is just Paul being Paul and just getting really excited. Oh, the depth of the riches and wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable are his judgments and unfathomable his ways. For who has known the mind of the Lord, or who became his counselor, or who has first given to him, that it might be repaid to him? For from him and through him and to him are all things. To him be the glory forever. Amen. Chapters like this get me thinking like that.
Oh yeah.
It's like I don't even understand. Like the idea, like whenever people suggest that this stuff isn't from God, blows my mind. Because I'm like, what human could come up with a story like this? It's literally all the moving parts over several millennia, and all these different like Kevin Feige did a pretty good job with the Marvel Universe, and there's still plot holes and inconsistencies and stuff. This stuff is way beyond that, right? Like just like the amount of wisdom to pull off this entire story, and just getting like little hints at it here and there, it's just like, wow, God is like, when you put all that together, you're like, I think God's a lot wiser and bigger and more powerful and way profounder than we give him credit for. It's like it's pretty remarkable. Yeah.
Amen.
Were you gonna say something?
Yep. Is it not stored up in my treasuries? Deuteronomy 32. Let's go.
Hey, I just want to say there were a few other times I almost brought it up, but I held myself back.
Had a few more in the chamber.
Uh-huh. Those are stored up in my treasuries.
That's funny. Okay, well, if that's it, then does someone want to pray us out?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Dear Lord, thank you for this evening that we get to study your word. Thank you for the information that we learned, and help us to go and use it out in this world. And please keep us all safe as we go home, and keep David and Brianne safe as well here at our house. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Amen.